I recently went down to San Diego to do this. Is a full swing kit as accurate as a Trackman or a GC quad? I'm down here in San Diego to find out, where I've got to give Full Swing some credit. They've got some guts. We're out here at the Oceanside Sports Complex, this giant field behind me, where they've got the kit set up and a Trackman and the quad, and they're gonna put them all head to head to see what the results are. And this is something I'm really looking forward to seeing the results of, because the kit is one of the most polarizing launch monitors out there, and I'm honestly kind of torn about it. On the one hand, I love using it. I love the modern user interface. It's one of the most user-friendly launch monitors out there. On the other hand, there's been some concerns about the accuracy of the device. Is it good? Does it have all the features that some of these other products have? How does it do indoors? So coming down here, I'm really looking forward to figuring out the answers to all of these questions. So we're gonna go hit some balls, and we've got a combination of rangefinders, people out in the middle of the field that are gonna be looking for exactly where the ball is landing to figure out how far each shot is, and then compare it to what the results are from each launch monitor. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Let's go do this thing. And while it was interesting to see the results of how the Full Swing and the Trackman and the GC Quad all stacked up against each other, the accuracy of the Full Swing kit wasn't necessarily my big takeaway from that event. So in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, but then I'm also going to focus on the bigger takeaway I had, the thing that surprised me the most that may make you think twice about which launch monitor you buy. Okay, so let's be real. I went down there for this Full Swing event, and if they're willing to bring a bunch of golf writers and influencers and people down to put their unit directly up against the two most respected launch monitors in the world, then you've got to imagine they have a pretty good idea of how it's going to turn out. And I think for the most part, the results are what they expected. I also would like to make clear that I received no money from Full Swing for making this video. They did put me up in a hotel, they invited me to the events, but I flew down there myself, and they don't get to preview this video before I make it. The first night we got there, we got to go to Full Swing headquarters, and let me tell you, this place is ridiculous. The coolest golf office imaginable, and that's pretty much what this is. Everywhere you look, there are simulators. There's golf simulators. They had a racing simulator. They had pool. They had foosball. They even had not one, but two hidden speakeasies that had bars and Full Swing simulator setups inside. It was amazing, it was impressive, and I wish my office looked even a fraction of as cool as this one did. But that's not really what this video is about. So to focus on the first part of this video, let's talk about what they were hoping I would talk about, and how did the Full Swing kit stack up against the Trackman outdoors on a range. So admittedly, the challenge of accurately measuring exactly how far a golf ball carries on a range is kind of harder than you think. So the way they did it is they had a perfectly flat field. It wasn't even a driving range. Technically, it was a soccer field. They had like 5 people standing out in the middle of the soccer field. People would hit balls, and then they would watch the ball come and land. They would then run out to exactly where the ball landed, plant a flag, and then using a rangefinder, they would test the distance of that shot. From there, they would then mark down the actual distance based on their measurement, as well as the distances from each of the 3 launch monitors. Now, I've got 2 sets of data. I've got the data from Taylor, who is a plus handicap, much better, much more consistent golfer than me, who went through 5 shots each with the number of clubs. I then also have my data of doing the same thing, except I only use pitching wedge, 7-iron, and driver to try and get my distances. Here is the data from Taylor. As you can see, we've got sand wedge, gap wedge, 9-iron, 8-iron, and driver. And in every case, except with driver, the difference between the actual result and the numbers the Full Swing kit gave were less than 1%. That is pretty freaking accurate. The margin of difference was essentially the same as the margin of difference using a Trackman. The only outlier with that, and you can really hardly call it that, comes with driver, where the difference between the actual number and the Full Swing kit number was 1.1%. One thing you'll notice with driver is that even with the Trackman, as we're talking about pretty serious distances here, it wasn't dead on. Both the kit and the Trackman were anywhere from like 3 to even like 8 yards off if you were looking through the numbers. Still less than 1% variance. These numbers, honestly, for most people are not going to matter. You are close enough at that point for it to be useful for you, but it is worth mentioning that none of this is an exact science. And even the data calculation of going and running up and putting a flag on there, well, there could be some errors and some variances there as well, so take all of that for what it's worth. And here, just in terms of full transparency, are the numbers that I got during my session. And so what I found from my shots with both pitching wedge and 7-iron, the kit actually ended up being more accurate on a percentage basis than the Trackman did. When it came to driver, number, the Trackman was just a little bit more accurate than the kit was, but then you look at the GC quad number and it honestly makes me feel much better about myself because we did have that 3-club wind at the end of the day when I was going, and the GC quad gave me a more normalized number based on no wind, no conditions, and so maybe that is the way we should go, because that made me feel like a much better golfer. 215-yard average drive, that doesn't make you feel so great. My takeaway in all of this is that yes, when it comes to carry distances outside, the full swing kit is close to or just as accurate as a Trackman. That doesn't necessarily surprise me because in my own testing, the full swing kit outdoors has been as accurate as anything that I have tested. And honestly, I love using the full swing kit. It isn't quite as feature heavy as a lot of other units out there, but the fact that it has a built-in screen, it has a very modern user interface, and outdoors, it seems extremely accurate as these tests prove, make it one of my favorite launch monitors for that particular purpose. Now, with all of that in mind, something I do want to say is in the past, my experience testing the full swing kit indoors has been a little bit challenging. I have yet to get really accurate results when put up against a Trackman. Things have been pretty variable. I've told that they have improved the product even more, so I'm going to go back and do my own testing, but I will say that in the entire time we were at the full swing kit office, I didn't see a single full swing kit indoors. Yes, they do have these fancy full swing simulators everywhere because that is what they are known for, but considering we were there to talk about the accuracy of the kit, I kind of expected to see one of those kits indoors, and I didn't. Is there a reason for that? Is it less accurate indoors than outdoors? Well, I don't know the answer to that. So in a future video, I will be testing this indoors against a Trackman, but outdoors, I was extremely impressed with the results. Hey, real quick, if you're still not sure which launch monitor is right for you, go take my 30-second quiz. You're gonna answer a few questions around what you're looking for, and I'm going to give you my best recommendation based on the device that I think is going to be the best fit for your needs. I will link to that below, and you can do that while you're watching the rest of this video. But this brings us to part 2 of the video, and this is the part of the video that I wasn't expecting to make, but honestly, it was my biggest takeaway from this event, and I think it's something that's worth talking about. And that is when you take into account the GC quad numbers. So the GC quad is widely regarded as one of, if not the most popular optical launch monitor that's on the market. It's great because it takes up less space. You can just go out to the range and stick it in front of you and you get numbers right on the screen. It takes less time to set up, it takes less space when you're indoors. There's a lot to like about that optical launch monitor. And I will say in general, as someone who reviews launch monitors for a living, when I'm hearing from you guys, it really seems like the majority of you, maybe a slight majority, but definitely a majority, lean towards the idea of an optical launch monitor. I think the reality is that for most people, you're probably looking for something to set up at home. And for most people, you don't necessarily have the space that's required to set up a true Doppler system. In some cases, you need 16, even as much as 20 feet in order to get accurate results, and most people just don't have that much space at home. So an optical unit that doesn't require any space behind you, aside from enough space to swing your club, can definitely be appealing, especially considering a lot of those models are versatile enough to then take outside and take to the range, where you don't have to worry about setting everything up, lining it properly, just put it down in front of you, and away you go. But, and this is a big but, I don't think I've ever really sat down and thought about logically what's happening on the range when you are using an optical launch monitor. Well, an optical launch monitor is taking a snapshot at a moment of time when the club is hitting the ball, and it is making its calculations based on that. It's not tracking the ball as it goes down the range. It is looking at the speed, the angle, everything at the moment that the club hits the ball, and it is making calculations based on that. Well, the reality is, when you're outside on a range, there are real-world conditions that is not going to take into account. So in the case of these tests, it happened to be a very windy day. In some cases, we had as much as a 2 or a 3 club wind, and when you look at the numbers of the GC Quad versus the Trackman and the full swing kit, you will see that they are wildly different. So as you'll notice, if we look at Taylor's numbers, because honestly it's a better indication than looking at mine, you start with sand wedge. With the GC Quad, there was a 2.6% difference from the actual number to the numbers it gave. But then you go gap wedge, 6.2%, 9 iron, 13.4%, 8 iron, 13%, up to driver, 14.6% difference on average than the actual number. So if you just look at some of these, the actual number, 280-yard drive, it was reading as 318. 280, 317, 285, 316. And so if you're outside and you're trying to get accurate numbers based on the conditions around you, an optical unit isn't going to give you that because it is not actually tracking the ball in current conditions. And so then that makes you wonder, well, it's like, well, if it's not that accurate outside, then why are all of these pros using it? And well, there's probably a variety of reasons for that. One, they might not actually be looking at carry distance. They might be looking at other metrics like spin. Two, they might be focusing less on longer clubs and more on shorter clubs where the variance isn't going to matter that much. Three, maybe they don't have the ability to easily set up a Doppler unit and a full Trackman and everything, and so having a GC quad is the easiest way to go about it. There's all sorts of reasons why this might be the case, but I think for the average person who hasn't put much thought into this, they take their optical launch monitor out there, they think they're getting accurate numbers based on what they're seeing, but those numbers are not actually accurate based on the conditions that are out here. And to be fair, a lot of people might not care about that. They might say, well, that was a 175-yard 7-iron for me, even if it only went 150 yards in actuality, under normalized conditions, that's what I'm getting and that's what I'm looking for. So if that's you, that's totally fine. But for me personally, when I'm outside, I want to know what that shot specifically actually did. I don't want a calculation around what it might have done under different circumstances. So I just never seen the stark difference between a Doppler unit and an optical unit under those conditions. Now this is not opposed to hate on Foresight or other optical launch monitors by any means. I mean, just recently, I gave the GC3 my overall pick for best indoor launch monitor. And if you invest in that, you still can take it out on the range and use it. Just know that the more variable conditions are, the worse the conditions are, the less accurate those units might be out there. So for me, this was just a little bit of an eye-opening experience where so often I'm hearing people talk about how optical is better, but if you are outside specifically, I think there's a big case to make for the fact that a Doppler unit is going to be more accurate across the board than an optical unit. So take all of that for what it's worth. The full swing kit, when it comes specifically to carry distances outside, just as good as a Trackman. So if that's something you're looking for less than a fifth of the price, you can go out and get that unit. It is one that I have really enjoyed using, but if you're specifically looking for something you want to use a lot indoors, I think there might still be some better options out there. And to that point, I think that's also kind of one of the main concepts of this video, is think about where you're planning to use your launch monitor the most. Are you planning to use it outdoors? Well, Doppler might be the way to go. Are you planning to use it primarily indoors? Well, then I think there's a lot of benefits to using an optical launch monitor. If you're planning to use both, then you can use either. Just know that each one is going to have its limitations depending on where you're at and what your use case looks like. With that, my name is Sean Ogle. I'm the founder of this video here, Breaking It, where we talk about cool golf stuff and cool golf products. If you got some value out of this, maybe hit the subscribe button, thumbs up. If you have questions, if you want to give your 2 cents on this debate or this topic, I would love to hear about it, so drop a comment below. And if you're still not sure what to watch next, maybe go watch that indoor launch monitor video that I've got right here. I hope you have an excellent day, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.